what I'm finding a lot of people are doing is just they're consuming content, and then it gets to like 7 p.m. and then they haven't done anything, but they felt like they've done stuff because they've learned stuff, but they're actually not. They're in that analysis paralysis phase, and it's just a never-ending merry-go-round.
It's become almost a little bit of a toxic space that I think that I'm attempting to repair, podcast by podcast. Well, cool, man. I'm glad to have you on. For everybody that doesn't know Cody Gavin, introduce yourself, man. Talk about who you are, how old you are, where you are, because the time difference right now is kind of crazy.
I know it's super late for you. So
no, it's funny, man. But go ahead.
I'm in Australia, so based over here in Oz. I've been in the space for about 4 years now, since like 2018. Kind of got started, which was awesome. And yeah, now I guess you could say I'm a SMMA YouTuber. Kind of feels a bit strange to say. But yeah, man, I've been in the agency space for about 4 years now. Cool, man. Yeah, and happy to have you on. And so it's what, 2:06 over there p.m. for you? Yeah, 2 p.m. Okay. All right, it's 11. It's 11 at night here. Super late, man. You know what? I'm like my head's hitting the pillow at this time. Like, I'm done. I'm a night owl, so it's really no problem at all. Plus, I just got back from my brother plays varsity basketball for his high school, so they had a region tournament, and we just got back. It was like the latest game ever, and I'm like driving back. I gotta get home for this podcast, but good to have you on, man. It's a pleasure. Like I said, very interested in your videos and kind of what you're about. You touched on it a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into this space? And I think something I like to hear about is like the I found it moment, or like, oh, this is gonna be what I do, or this is what I meant to do. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what that looked like for you and your agency? For sure. So, a bit of background. I started in hospitality. I hated school. I always knew what I wanted to do, which was cooking at the highest possible level, right? Working in the best restaurants in the world, and eventually opening up my own restaurant when I was 30 years old, and to be ranked number one. That was the life goal. And I'd done everything to line myself up to achieve that by 30 years old, which would put me at the youngest sort of person at the top of their field. But anyway, I kind of lost interest in that, and that's a long story. But then the SMMA sort of thing happened. I think like everyone, we just started YouTubing, right? Mm-hmm. So just started looking up how to make money online. That's really where it all started. 2018, I was kind of lost because I'd finished up with cooking and I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. But I'd had a couple of odd jobs since. I hated it, hated working for someone. I just despised it. I knew I wanted to obviously do something, but I just didn't know what. Started researching how to make money online, seeing drop shipping, Amazon FBA, Forex trading. And then I came across social media marketing, and I thought, this is interesting. And I think it was Ty Lopez that I first seen. And what interested me mainly was the skill aspect, right? So it wasn't about like making millions of dollars at that stage. It was more about, okay, well, I didn't go to university, so I'm here to learn high ticket skills, right? And this makes sense. To me, well, great. If I can help a business make more money, I'm going to get paid, right? So It was pretty simple for me. That was kind of like that decision moment, like, okay, let's give this a shot. And then I seen Russell Brunson, right? ClickFunnels, how he talks about offers and all that great stuff. I think he's phenomenal at what he does. Obviously, Alex Hormozi learned everything pretty much from Russell Brunson. And it was his speech at the 10X Growth Conference in 2018. He sold $3 million in 90 minutes from stage. Like 2 in 8 people bought his $3,500 package. It was just incredible. And that was like that aha moment for me. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So that's really where it all started, man. I started in the real estate space just because someone told me, well, you either go into real estate, solar, or medical. And I had no interest in solar or medical businesses. I liked real estate. I wanted to get into real estate investing, so that made sense. And yeah, I just dove straight in.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like, first of all, your drive to become one of the best cooks. That's something I don't have a quality in. I'm like very much a takeout guy, which needs to stop.
Yeah.
Maybe you can start giving me less. Maybe you could sell me a course on cooking.
I'd
take you up on that. But I like how you said, you touched on, SMMA was kind of like, a little bit like it was the first, at least for me, in the way that you said it, kind of sparked what I heard is like it was the first, I guess, business model that wasn't like almost a too good to be true kind of thing, because like Amazon 100%. FBA, you see drop shipping, you see people making like $30,000 a day, and then somebody comes along and is like, no, like this is something you can actually do that'll make you $10,000 a month, which is like way more, I guess, realistic and attainable than like somebody that's shooting for $30,000 like a day. So I like your kind of that I guess aspect of it, because it is very appealing to somebody that's never heard of it before. And the process of creating an SMMA as opposed to creating a drop shipping store is very like what I like to tell people is like create a agency name. My initials are WNR. It could be literally WNR Media, and then you could literally just start sending outreach today, and you don't have to establish your business. You don't have to do anything with drop shipping. No. There's like you have to create a shop, you have to choose a product, you have to do product research, and it's like it's just so easy to get into. So I love how you broke that down, because it really is
100%. And I'm someone that likes to keep things simple. Like I think too many people overcomplicate it, and that's really the number one reason why people don't succeed. That's it. Like if I could sum it up, that would be it. And I faced the exact same thing, especially when I started out. But yeah, man, you got to keep things simple. You got to keep things streamlined. Like you said, name. To be honest, right now, like if I was starting again, you don't even need a name. Like you're going to reach out from your personal account anyway. So who cares about a name, right? It's not like you're going to set up a business account and reach out from that account. You're going to use Will Ross, Cody Gavin's Instagram account, Facebook account. So it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, man. And I think too many people just think all these little details matter, when it's like, okay, great. Pick a niche, figure out what they're struggling with, right? Create a solution to that problem, and then just start your outreach.
Absolutely. I'll be honest. I got caught in the whole flashy stuff. I think people very much look into or I think admire the brands that have the cool logo and a cool coloring, and it's like you're not an agency until you have a client. You can have the best logo in the world. You can have the best website in the world. But if you're if you don't have any clients and your monthly recurring revenue is zero, that money is being put to something that's just not gonna, you're not getting anything. So like you said, personal brand is enough to start, man. Exactly. I think it's good, man. It's good that I think people are out there, and I don't want to put us on a pedestal, but I think it's good for just people in general out there to say like it's not that hard. It's simple. There's people like you doing it out there. There's people like me doing it out there, and it kind of just stems from just a point of passion. It's like I was also at a point where I wasn't financially where I wanted to be. I'm still building myself up, but it's like SMMA has changed my life. It's just like it's so awesome because it's something attainable. I wanted to talk about YouTube for just a second, because I know for me, as you probably can notice, I can ramble. So I was like, if I can just turn on a camera,
5 hours.
If I could turn on a camera and ramble, bro, then why not? So what is your what was kind of the moment where you were like, maybe I should start a YouTube channel? Is there somebody that inspired you, or what did that kind of look like?
Yeah, so I always was against it. I think I related to Alex Hormozi with this, because he always wanted to be rich and anonymous, and I always had the exact same philosophy. I didn't want to be known. I wanted to have if ideally I would have no social media, nothing. Ideally, in an ideal world, I would be completely unknown. But obviously, being 2023, whether you like it or not, your feelings about it don't matter. And this is what I say to people now. If you don't like something, I don't care. Like, your feelings on whether you like it or not, I'm sorry, it's completely irrelevant. It's something that you need to do. Suck it up. Just do it. And that's kind of, I had that realization with YouTube. but yeah, I never wanted to do it. I thought, I'm not going to be one of these gurus. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And then my friend, at the start of last year, he said, why don't you just put out a few videos? You know, put out 3 or 4 videos. They won't get many views, but if you enjoy it, put out a couple more. If you enjoy that, put out a couple more. So I did, and then the rest is history, really. Like I've always been someone that's planned everything that I want to do with trajectories and different things. But YouTube was the first thing that I didn't plan. I still don't plan anything. I just put it out, whatever happens, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's really how it started, man. Like it was really organic. It was really just, let's see how it goes. I'll give it a shot. If I enjoy it, great, let's keep going. If I don't, I'll stop.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's accurate what you said about kind of the whole stigma behind gurus, and that people will start a YouTube for the wrong reason, and you can see very blatantly when that's the case. When somebody's first video is funneling to a course, you're like, all right, you know what I mean? And so I like the genuine aspect, I think, of what you put out, what I put out, because it's like there's some videos out there where I'm just like, oh, I just figured this out. I want to share it, and I'm not going to funnel you to anything else. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to say, this is how I learned email marketing, but the second half of the video you can find on my $5,000. It's like, no, man, it's just, I want to take the stigma away. You know, I want to take the stigma away from people that are so, I guess, money hungry, trying to get a cash grab. Yeah. And it is fulfilling. It's awesome. I mean, I was talking to...
It actually is. And it definitely is, man. It really is.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Like I do some coaching now, but it's like, it's actually fun. And the other thing with my friend who got me into, just gave me that push, right? He's like, look, whether you start one now, someone else is going to, and they're going to start it with the wrong intentions. So if you start a channel and you enjoy it, people are actually going to see that you're genuine, right? They're not stupid. They can kind of tell like what's real and what's not. So that kind of put my mind at ease, because I was like, that's a good point. You know, if you're coming from a genuine place, it's going to show.
Well, and I think Montel Gordon put it out. And Montel Gordon, I don't know if you're familiar, but he is somebody that, he has a course now, and he has a personal brand agency, and he's built himself up, and he's, wisely monetizing his stuff. But it's very much been since day one, since he started his YouTube channel, was like the real survive. And he doesn't even have 20,000 subscribers, I don't think, yet. I mean, he's just like, he just talks about what's on his mind, and he's just real, and he's raw, and like none of his videos are really, honestly, that greatly edited. It's just like a 19-minute video of him talking to a camera.
That's what I'm seeing works a lot more. Like for me, I script everything word for word. Like I really spend time, because I'm someone that rambles. There's a lot of there's a lot of R's, you know, I'll say, right, See, I'm saying it now. And for me, I don't want to ramble. I would rather have like a 5-6 minute video that's like straight to the point, that's clear cut. Yes, it's edited. Yes, I've scripted it, but I'm kind of, over the next couple of months, for me anyway, I'm going to be testing out just setting up a camera and talking, right? A bit more raw. And I think that's what's working better now. As I'm seeing it, like the last half of like 2022 and especially in 2023, the more raw videos are performing a lot better. I don't know about yourself, but
yes,
that's the only reason I've always scripted.
Yeah. So interesting that you said that, because it is. I've always tried to look for a better way to increase my average view duration. I mean, everybody does, right? And it's just like, I want people to watch my video for longer. And I tried something that I uploaded this morning, actually, but by the time this will go out, it was this recent Thursday. But it was for the first time in the first 30 seconds of my video, there was no B-roll, there was no crazy edits, there was just cutting out the fluff. And the whole video is me just talking to a camera, and the average view duration up until this point is the best it's ever been. And it's like, you're like, why, like theoretically, if you put a bunch of stuff in front of somebody that's like fast cuts, fast edits, B-roll, it's like somebody should watch that. But somebody that's viewing that and viewing videos like you and I, they see that all the time. So if they can see somebody that's personable and raw and real, man, it's almost different nowadays, which is crazy to say, but it works. And I'm very glad that's the way it's going, because it kind of takes away from the, I guess, the guys that are very much like too animated, just in it for the money kind of course guys. It's like, if you can sit down for 10, 15 minutes and just talk, what you're talking about, and you're not trying to sell anybody on anything, like, people realize that, and that's a huge asset to have.
100%. So that's something that I'm going to be trying to do over the next few months. It's just, I've got so much YouTube content, like, ready to go, obviously scripted videos are like, I've got months and months worth of content
ready
to go, because I just had, like, over the Christmas period, I just had like so many different ideas. So I just spent like 4 days writing like 30 different scripts, and then just recorded like 30 different videos.
I'm jealous.
But now I'm like, I need to create some more, I guess, less edited videos, more organic style videos, and kind of mix them in it all, and just really see what works and just put it out.
Absolutely.
But for me, well, like, it comes down to, like, I just enjoy it. It's fun, and I think the other thing too, and I think this is really why I like podcasts, and obviously I would love to do more of these, is you get to connect with other people in the space. I think a lot of SMMA YouTubers, they're just focused on themselves, and they don't want to talk to other people, they don't want to collaborate, they don't want to do other things. And I'm like why? Like, if you genuinely want to help, right, your audience and people just starting out, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Right. Yeah. And that's, I love that you said that. That's the entire reason that I started this. I saw the same thing in everybody. I saw that there was a little bit of like, I guess, like, people, the YouTubers looked at each other like they were bad people. I mean, there's drama in the SMMA space, which is like, if the whole goal of starting a YouTube is to help people out, that should be everybody's goal. So it's like, I love the things that you're talking about. I love the things that, like, I've talked about with Grayson Lupus, with Sebastian Hansen, Caden Jara, like, different people that I've had on my podcast that are like their own brands. Yes, we're all our own brands, but we're all in the SMMA space together. Why can't we all try to help in different ways? And I think there's just people that'll view it differently, but exactly right. It's become almost a little bit of a toxic space that I think that I'm attempting to repair, podcast by podcast. So it's something that's going to take a long time, man. But it's little things like this that go an absolute long way. But so okay, talking about your agency a little bit, something that I get hit up a lot with is people just starting outreach. They're starting their agency, and maybe they go a week, they go 2 weeks, they go a month, 2 months, and they're not seeing any results. This is something that I typically like to ask, but I'll kind of frame it in a different way. What are some hurdles that you had starting your agency that you've had to overcome, and kind of, how did you fix that problem long term? Because the reason I ask it is, like, people are finding a lot of problems nowadays with saturation, what niche to find, and it's like, if you can just get past it once and use a client testimonial, it's just a snowball effect. So how, what was something that you had to overcome, and kind of, how are you continuing to overcome that, nowadays?
Yeah, so definitely a snowball effect, right? But before we get there, like, when I started in 2018, it took me 9 months to get my first client. 9 months. Every single day, I would send out 100 pieces of outreach every single day, 7 days a week for 9 months.
I want to pause right there. If you just hit my DM and you started outreaching for a week and you didn't see results and you're thinking about quitting, I want you to watch that again. Continue.
Yeah. So for me, I've always had the attitude, like, I will make this succeed. Otherwise, like, I'll die trying, right? Like, I'd rather die and be like, I've done everything that I possibly can. I can't do any more. That's fine, right? So I've always had that. It's like do or die for me. It's like, if I'm not successful, Like there is no other option, right? Like I will make this work. You have to have that mentality first and foremost. And I think all of us that make it do. And it comes back to like, why are you doing this? To me, I couldn't think of anything worse than working for someone else, retiring at 65, no money, nothing. I've seen many family members do it. That's not for me, right? So I'm not going to do that. I would literally rather die right now than that be my future. So that's number one, right? You've got to be willing to do whatever it takes. So I was doing 100 pieces of outreach, but I was doing it like I was getting the meetings. I was able to set, a handful of meetings a week. But my problem is I was pitching Facebook ads. I was selling them on chat bots, messenger ads, landing funnels, Instagram, growth campaigns. Like I was bundling like 20 different things together and like talking about lookalike audiences, custom audiences. This is how we're going to target this person and this person. And dude, they didn't understand what I was talking about. Right? Like I was just talking in like marketing jargon. So I wasn't keeping it simple. I was just talking about, tech sort of things and all this rubbish that doesn't mean anything to them. That was my biggest mistake is I just couldn't sell these people. I couldn't close anyone. I could always set the meetings, but I could never close anyone. And then I kind of had that epiphany moment. I don't remember like where that sort of come from, but I figured, okay, I've been selling like this for 9 months. I thought I was doing the right thing, but obviously I'm not. So then I just basically changed it up and was like, hey, look, here's what we can do. Here's how it's going to benefit you. And I just shut up. And that was it. And that's how I got my first client. And then obviously it just snowballed from there. But to me, the number one thing that you need to do is numbers of outreach matter. It's really a numbers game. But before that, you need to have a good offer, right? So back in 2018 and 2019, you could still get away technically with selling Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, whatever it is, right? But 2020 kind of showed I had a money back guarantee offer. And then that's really where things took off for me. But in 2023, now you have to put the risk on yourself rather than the business. And it's got to make sense, right? To me, it's all logical. It's like, look, Will, if I can generate you X amount of new clients and each client is worth this much to you and we don't deliver that, I'll give you a full refund. How does that sound? Like, yeah, cool. Who's not going to take you up on that, right? So to me now, the biggest thing that you need to do is create a good offer. Now, how you do that is you have to do the boring shit, which is market research. So go out and talk to businesses in that niche about what their goals are, what their problems are, why they're facing those issues, how long they have been facing those issues for, what keeps them up at night. Really understand the business inside and out. So much so, you could go in and start a business as a competitor the next day, right? You need to know how they talk, how they walk. You need to know everything about them. Then you can create a great offer. And then that's really how you create product market fit in my eyes, right? Because if you understand the industry, what they're struggling with and their goals, you'll be able to create a great offer, which means when you go out, it's just a conversation. They're like, wow, this is awesome. Let's do it. Yep. So that's my biggest thing for people just sort of starting out. I know I kind of rambled on and I forgot. No, it was perfect. It was perfect. I always, and I think I got this from Alex Hormozy, but I could be wrong on this one, but it was, he put it in a formula kind of sense where it was volume times the I guess good score of your offer equals the probability of success. So like volume times your offer equals the probability of success. If you have tons of volume, but your offer sucks, you won't get any clients, and vice versa. If you are not sending any outreach, but you have the best offer in the world, nobody's going to see them, your probability of success is non-existent. But if you can get a little bit of both, like you're just bound to see success. And, like you said, like I was talking about earlier, the snowball effect is real, man. If you can go 9 months, not see one client and then get one, and then all of a sudden you're at like $5, $10, $15, $30,000 a month, it's like,
wow, that just happened. And that happens, through a number of things. And a lot of that is experience. Because, to be quite honest with you, you can listen to guys like me, you can listen to guys like you, but you'll never know what the actual experience of running an agency is like until you have to deal with that first client and you get that first deliverable date.
Yeah. And there's not one way to do things, right? Like you'll tell people to do something a different way to say me, right? And that's why I don't believe in like full scripts or anything like that. It's because, Will, you speak differently to me, which means if I try to read your script, it's probably not going to sound that great. It's going to sound kind of robotic. I'm not going to get the same results, right? We're different, so you've got to put your own spin on it, and you've got to incorporate your personality into everything that you do. You can use the framework, the processes, sure, but at the end of the day, the work is up to the individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but a huge problem with at least the people that I've talked to in my Discord and my newsletter is, like you said earlier, I may be getting people in my meetings. I may be getting booked meetings, but I can never close a client. I think we talked about, having that initial good offer, cutting out the fluff. Is there anything nowadays where you think people should focus on? Maybe let's talk about a service, perhaps. Is there any service you think right now is, I guess, unsaturated, or something that somebody should target where they can kind of increase their, I guess, close rate?
Yeah. So for me, like, I've always just done Facebook ads, right? That's like my bread and butter. That's really what I know. Like, talk to me about Google ads or YouTube ads. I have no idea. Like, I've never gone into Google AdSense at all. Like, I don't know, right? I'm sure I could figure it out, but I've never ran a campaign. I haven't even seen the inside of, the Google.
I did once, man, and I cannot tell you what I saw. I was immediately confused, and I got right out of there.
Yeah, so I haven't even gotten that far, right? But I don't think it's really important. I think people focus too much on what platform should I use, where it's like, no, you've got to figure out, well, where are their customers, right? And that's really where you go, right? Maybe it's YouTube ads. I don't know. Maybe YouTube ads work better for your niche, right? Maybe TikTok ads work better. I know TikTok's just released the lead forms and different things, so it is going towards not just e-commerce, right? It's going for local businesses a lot now as well. So maybe try TikTok ads. But as far as a service, I think it's more about, like, the vehicle's not as important as your offer, right? Your offer is probably the most important thing, in my opinion. But how you get it, like how I go around selling now, is really just maths, right? It's like, how much do you charge? What's your margins? Great. And you should know this before you get on the calls. You should know this about the industry and your market research. You should know how much they make. You should know all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And it's really just a maths game. It's really like, okay, well, so if we can get you X, Y, and Z and bring you this, and this, you're obviously going to make this. This is your margins on that, and this is how much we charge. And if we don't deliver, money back guarantee will work, or like whatever your offer is. How does that sound? It's black. I like to make things black or white. They either want to work with you or they don't. To me, after the sales call, like, there should be no follow-up. Like, I don't do follow-up. Like, because it's just a complete waste of time. If you've delivered, if you've offered your service in a way that's like black and white, and they don't take it, the chances of them coming back are like less than 1%. So why bother wasting your time following up?
Absolutely.
That's kind of my opinion. But I think
great.
If you keep it simple, you kind of share what you do, how you do it, your offer, and then just shut up. Like, that's the best way to go about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cut out the fluff. And I know we talked about outreach a little bit, and I hate to bounce around, but there's so many things happening here. We're bringing up so many good points. I want to make sure I nail it down before I forget. But we talked about outreach earlier, and kind of how you can begin really today. How has the process, you touched on it earlier, how has the process from when you started your agency to now looked? And, what does a day-to-day outreach system for your agency look like now? And can you touch on, I guess, an estimate of how many people you're reaching a day?
Yeah, so about 200, I would say about 150 organic a day, and then I do paid ads as well. I've just started to do paid ads again. I'm a big believer in paid ads. I love paid ads. That's actually how I really scaled in March 2020, July 2020, yeah. That's really how I scaled, and ever since I've just loved paid ads for the agency space, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it. But in terms of outreach, how it's kind of changed is when I first started, it was more of a longer message. It was not I guess, tooting their own horn, but more like being a bit more conversational. But now it's just direct, straight to the point. It's like, hey, like this is what we do, right? Are you interested to hear more? Or, hey, do you offer this service? And we have a couple of back and forths, and then you go straight in with your offer. It's really direct marketing rather than, hey, how's it going? You know, like all that BS.
Right.
So it's really direct. And then I do paid ads. So Instagram DMs and Facebook DMs was where I started with the occasional Loom video. And that's really what I've always focused on the organic side.
Sure.
But
yeah.
again,
Can you touch a little bit more? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, again, it's all numbers.
Yeah, definitely. Can you touch a little bit more on the paid ad side? I'm interested myself, and I'm sure a lot of people out there as well. But kind of what does that funnel look like? If you don't mind sharing your offer as well, because I think it's always been a little bit of a roadblock for me. I'm like, I don't know, how much it's going to cost to acquire a customer. And I guess I don't, or a client. And I guess I don't really know until I start spending money, and it's different for everybody. But what does it look like for you, and how have you been able to find success in the paid ads? And I guess what platforms do you use?
Yeah, so 100% Facebook. There's really two options that you can do, right? Number one is lead forms. Number two is a VSL. Now, I always recommend lead forms just because it's a lot cheaper. VSL, there's a lot more... There's a lot more to it, right? Like you've got to make sure everything's on point. And if it's not, it ain't going to work, right? And your cost per appointment is going to be a lot higher. And when you have a smaller budget, you're not going to want to spend that, right? So I definitely leave that for when you're, making that 7, 10, 15K per month, and you've got some money to spend and figure it out, right? Because that's really all it is. It's just spending money to figure out, what works, and you're not going to be profitable straight away. So be willing to lose a couple of $1,000s on that, right? To get it right. But the lead forms are really interesting, right? So what I'll do is I'll have a simple ad. It's usually a graphic. That's what I've found works best for me. I am testing out a couple of videos at the moment, but it's too early to see if they're working or not. But it's an ugly graphic, and basically it's just my offer. That's it, right? It's my offer on a graphic, calling out the industry that I'm going after. The targeting, the demographics, completely open, right? I do no advanced targeting at all. I use my copy and my creative as my targeting, and that's it. I send them straight to a lead form. Obviously, there's the website on the back end, so sometimes you do get the occasional person booking through. But the goal with the lead form is for you to call them up manually, go through the discovery call process, book them in for a call on your calendar. And dude, a lead can cost you anywhere from $7 to sort of $20.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's really untapped. Like you mentioned earlier, I don't see a lot of agency owners doing that. Even the ones that are scaling, right? I feel like a lot of people, even the big dogs, are doing cold email stuff still nowadays. But I feel exactly, if you have the money and you have the capital to try it out, definitely do so. And I'm a hypocrite because I haven't tried it out, but I definitely will look into it.
It is really good. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is when you're doing lead forms, especially, it's more of a volume game, which is fine because it's not going to cost you as much, right? So they aren't going to be as qualified, granted, but it's better than the alternative when you're starting out, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's it's definitely something that you should try, man. It's fantastic. The biggest thing though is that's what I was going to say. I just lost my train of thought before. You've got to call the leads very quickly.
Okay, got it. And what are your opinions? I don't know if you've tried this or if you've heard of it. LinkedIn ads. It's something that I've wanted to dabble in. Do you know anything about that or the effectiveness? Versus a good Facebook ad.
I don't actually.
Yeah,
I don't even.
Is that
know
something you'd like to explore? Okay. Yeah.
So
I've looked into trying it. I guess it's worth a try, right? I mean, if I'm going to spend some money on ads, what if it works? That's cool, man. I think, it's interesting hearing just a whole different viewpoint. Like we touched on a little bit earlier, but it's like, that's kind of the reason why I like to bring people on, is because I always leave with something new. I would like the same thing for whoever hops on the podcast. And I think it's just valuable information for anybody watching this that, I always preach this as well, is that this influencer may say something, this influencer may say something, Iman Gadzhi may tell you one thing, but everybody is their own person and everybody has their outreach method that works for them. Everybody has an offer that works for them. And so it's like, yeah, you can copy somebody and you can get to where they were, but for you to scale, you're going to need to know the ins and outs of how you got there, and the real monetization. And I like this kind of saying right here, but you get rich by building up a business. You get richer by teaching that. And I understand that it is very much an emotional and mental game as well. In terms of feeling rich, because like I said, there was not really a feeling of fulfillment until I started a YouTube channel, and I had people reaching out to me saying like, hey, the outreach method you talked about helped me land my first client. Thank you, man. And it's like, wait a second. That was cool. Like, that's awesome.
Actually, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And that's been the funnest thing for me, most enjoyable thing for me. I think, look, on that note with what you were saying about everyone's got their own way to go about it. There's a million ways to skin a cat, right? Eman's going to say one thing, I'm going to say another, Will's going to say something else. And what I often hear is like, just give me the secret sauce, give me the rope. And I'm like, dude, I wanted that. Like, I wish there was something but there isn't. There isn't. I was searching and searching and searching. And trust me, if anyone was going to find it, I would have found it years ago, right? Because I looked and looked and looked. And then I kind of realized it's just putting in the work consistently and just figuring it out, right? Because everyone's got their own stories and their own experiences doing this. One thing might work for you, but it might not work for me. Right. So I've got to figure out, what's going to work for me, so there is no secret sauce. That's one thing. There is no perfect outreach method. There is no perfect script. If you're wanting that, it doesn't exist. Get off YouTube if that's the case, and just work. Because what I'm finding a lot of people are doing is just they're consuming content, and then it gets to like 7 p.m. and then they haven't done anything, but they felt like they've done stuff because they've learned stuff, but they're actually not. They're in that analysis paralysis phase, and it's just a never-ending merry-go-round.
Oh my gosh, no
and
kidding.
I think stop consuming content, like unsubscribe to everyone, maybe subscribe to 1, 2, 3 people, right? And listen to what they say, and just figure the rest out yourself, because your experience is going to be different to mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to create your own path.
Yeah, exactly. Sebastian talked about, similar to what you said, it's better to focus on one person and find what they did right and mimic it and make it your own than it is to follow and subscribe to 20 SMMA influencers and then be jumbled up because everybody's saying something different.
And then it's like, which one do I go? Like, what do I do now? I've just learned 20 different ways to do this one thing. Like, what am I going to do? And then now you're more confused than when you went into it.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
I don't know about you, but I was there.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I think everybody, it's kind of hard not to fall into that until somebody says something like that, where it's like, okay, I should only watch this person because it's just so much jumbled information. And like, I think we're all a product of that. I mean, I remember late 2020, going into 2021, I started my agency in January of 2021, but going into like the latter half of 2020, it was like at the gym every single day I was turning on a different SMMA video just to consume and learn. But it's like I probably was doing more harm than good, just because it's like I thought email was the best. Why is this guy telling me to do cold calls? Wait, I thought Facebook ads was the service to offer. Why is this guy telling me to do like TikToks? So it's just like, yeah, it's just different, man. And I think it's valuable to know that information, to know what works. But I think it's also just as valuable to really focus on one thing, whether it be outreach, whether it be an offer, whether it be, you know, personal brand stuff, whatever it may be. Just like focus on one and don't get too jumbled up with the masses, because it can be a detriment more than an asset.
100%. And I also like recommend a lot of people are asking me now, I don't know about you, it's like, oh, should I start a personal brand? And I say, look, man, if you can start one like right now, I highly recommend it. It took me years, dude. Like I've been in the space since like 2018, like the end of 2018, 2019 is kind of when I started to get traction, right? So let's say 2019. It took me 2019, 2020, 2021, 3 years to get on YouTube, right? Because I was totally against it. I had a pretty bad mindset. I had a very bad view of it all. And like, that's a big regret, right? Yeah. And I would recommend, like, even if you just want to document your journey, jump on YouTube. It's fun. You'll actually enjoy it, right? And it'll hold you accountable as well. Yeah, exactly. Right? It's an accountability thing for you as well. You know, like if you struggle with staying consistent, start a channel, because it's going to be a challenge, but you're going to make it work, you know? Yeah. And I think now 2022, 23, it's really on that personal brand. So like if you can create a YouTube channel on how to help dentists, you know, generate more appointments, whatever it is, do it. You know, whatever your industry is, create, like it might be a smaller channel, sure, right? But your viewers and your subscribers are going to be infinitely far more valuable than someone who's got, you know, a channel with 100,000 subscribers, but is more of like a general YouTuber. Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there too that just like and here's what I like to say too, is like YouTube is not for everybody. It's really not. I mean, like some people really do genuinely like to be the guy that gets rich without being, you know, nobody knows who he is. And I think we all kind of attest to doing that, but it's like growing a personal brand has proven time and time again how valuable it is, not only to you, but my whole mindset is like, if you got yourself out of where you were a year, 2, 3 years ago, and you're not telling other people how to do what you just did, you're not helping other people out, you're almost not doing the world, you know, a justice. And I heard this thing. Okay.
I'll disagree on your first point. Not everyone's meant for YouTube. I think everyone can be. Yes, sure. Like you may be shit in front of a camera. I don't know if I can say it, but you may be bad in front of a camera to start with. Granted, no problem. I think everyone is, because I think the other thing that you don't realize is if you're recording a video, you've got to be, your enthusiasm has to be a lot higher to make it come across as normal, right? When someone's watching. That's what I've noticed. Like if I'm just normal on video, it's really like, it's not great. Right. So you've got to kind of amp it up, and that's difficult. Yeah. You know, especially when you're nervous, you're just getting into it. But I think you can train yourself to do it. And I think like what you were saying, I do agree with. If you've gotten out of a certain situation, you should put it out. And there's a couple of things that I want to touch on that. But just briefly, like for me, that's something that I struggled with on YouTube, was that coming across as sort of enthusiastic and, you know, getting comfortable on camera. And I think that's also why I like to script my videos, because I'm not fully comfortable just talking on the fly, because I know I ramble. And that's a big issue of mine. But like if you talk to other successful people, like if I reach out to, you know, I've reached out to multi-millionaires, a couple of billionaires, and you're surprised by they actually want to talk about how they got to where they got to. Like if someone shows interest in like, wow, you know, how did you do it? Like I would love to, I aspire to do the same thing. They love that, you know, because not many people ask them. Right. And I think that's so valuable. And it's your kind of duty to do the exact same. But on the YouTube front, I think you can't be rich and anonymous anymore. It's not a thing, right? Like I was obviously looking at like the Ray Dalio, Steven Schwartzman, like all these mega successful individuals. But now a lot of them are on social media as well, right?
Yeah.
Because they understand they've got to be. And it's not about whether you want to or not. It's like you've got to be. So you've just kind of got to do it. Getting like rich and being anonymous, it doesn't really exist anymore. The world changes, the landscape changes, and whether you like it or not, we're in the digital age.
Absolutely fair point. And I hate to call out another Alex Hormozi quote because I'm really not that guy that like is like a super follower of Alex. I just think that he says cool stuff.
Yeah.
And he said something recently, and I don't know if you've run across it, but it was like the Queen died 5 months ago and nobody's talking about it. You will die one day and people will not care. So do what you want while you're in this life. And if you want to start a YouTube channel, you're too afraid. There's no time to be afraid anymore. And to your point, it's a digital landscape. People are changing. And if your friends are the ones that are making fun of you for trying to put out organic content that helps other people, they ain't your friends. And they're never going to be. So cut those people out of your life. And it's almost, it may be hard, but you're doing yourself a service because you don't need those people in your life. You need people that are holding you accountable saying, hey, you didn't upload a video this week. How come? I was looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Like that, those are the kind of people that are going to take you to the next level. So it's almost an easy way of weeding out the toxics, right? It's
totally.
And that was a huge part of me too. And I'll be completely honest. Only a handful of my friends know mine right now, and that's something I'm trying to work on. And I'm over here, preaching this, but it's something that I've definitely have to work on. That's like I have to be okay with being this personality because it's something that when I was in high school, college was like. We always made fun of the guys like this, and it's like,
yeah,
it's this quick turnaround, and you have to be okay with that. But like, I've come to terms with all those guys that I was making fun of have helped thousands of people out, and they're also making tens of thousands of dollars a month. And I was a fat college kid that was making fun of somebody because I was jealous of their success. And so as we try to build this, man, keep that in your mind, because I think it's easy to get down and to see all the awesome comments and then see the one negative comment and be like, damn, he's right. But it's not. Yeah. He's not. So, man, I think for anybody watching, listening.
Totally agree with what you were saying. If you look at my socials, YouTube, I'm the most active. Like Instagram, I posted 2 photos last year. 2 in the whole year. And before that, I didn't post photos for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So I've got 2 photos in 2022 and the rest are in 2019 or 2020, whatever, right? So like this year, I've got to, whether I want to or not, I've got to get more photos because I don't take photos, right? The photos on my Instagram are the only photos of myself that I've got. My Facebook, I don't have a cover photo. I've got a crappy NFT as a profile photo, and I haven't posted in like 4 years, right? But what am I going to do? I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and post on Facebook this year. So yeah, man, it's all about helping people. Like you don't need to worry about the negative comments. And I think that's what we all subconsciously, worry about.
Absolutely. I think, I think it's a testament. Everybody that has started one has not had any bad things to say about it. I mean, everybody that I've had on the podcast that has a YouTube channel, has a TikTok, Instagram, has been so fulfilled in a way that you wouldn't know if you didn't start something like this. So it's just, there's more and more evidence to start one if you haven't already. So 100%,
because a lot of people are going to comment that they love your stuff and they want to keep keep listening to it, and they want you to keep putting out content because they're getting value from it. You don't know what people are going to find valuable. And I think the other thing, well, I know we're just going on now, but it's like
I love it.
You've got a lot of knowledge that you probably don't realize you've got, right? To you it's normal, whatever, but for someone else that is invaluable, right?
Absolutely.
So put it out, because you don't know what's going to resonate with people the most.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love the points being brought up. I don't think I've had a podcast get kind of that deep, and it's really cool to like kind of just dive in and really be real and really be raw. And I've just so much have enjoyed having you on, man. I want to finish up with a couple of questions kind of mixed together, and it relates to what we were just talking about. But I want to ask people what are their goals, because I too as I'm establishing these relationships, I want to be that friend that checks up on you in 9 months and says, hey, have you achieved this? What have you been doing to achieve that? And what can I do to help? So what is your goal at the end of the year for your YouTube? I guess you could give that metric in subscribers. You could give it in in views and anything like that. And then what's also your goal for your agency? That could also be in a revenue number as well. But kind of I'll hand the floor over to you and just kind of wrap it up with where do you want to be at the end of 2023?
So YouTube, definitely 10K subscribers. That would be amazing. So yeah, 10K would be like the number for me. That would be 2 years on YouTube, I believe. And then revenue-wise for the business, you're in the US, aren't you? So US dollars, probably looking at 600K, which is about 850 for me, Australian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool, man. Like I said, I fully believe everything that you're going to achieve and the value that you're putting out, the knowledge that you have. I don't see any problem with that happening. I think that those are both very attainable goals. I too want to achieve 10K by the end of the year. So hopefully you and I can keep each other accountable and kind of have a friendly competition because, our audiences are different but the same, and they feed off each other. And podcasts like this is what brings the space together, man. And I really appreciate everything you're doing. But Cody Gavin, thank you so much for coming on, man. It has been an absolute pleasure. All the socials linked down below. Again, thank you so much for the value you're adding and you're continuing to add to YouTube. And I think I speak for my audience when I say that we're looking forward to the things you have to do in this year. And I'm really excited.
Thanks so much for having me.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks.